Turkey and Europe have a historic relationship that dates back centuries. From energy and trade to security and transportation, Ankara and Brussels share interests on a wide range of issues. We sit down with the EU's top diplomat in Türkiye, Nikolaus Meyer-Landrut, to discuss Turkey's EU accession process, the impact of the war in Ukraine on bilateral ties, and a wide range of issues. I'm Yusuf Aram, and you're watching One on One. Nikolaus Meyer-Landrut, thank you for joining us here on the sidelines of the TRT World Forum. Now, one of the major themes at the forum, the war in Ukraine, and as the top diplomat from Brussels to Ankara, I wanted to ask you, how has the war in Ukraine impacted the relationship between the EU and Turkey?
Well, I would first of all say this war has impacted us all, and profoundly. Edi Rama just on the stage said this is a watershed moment for European security architecture. So we need to work together through this crisis, through this war of aggression by Russia. And we have, I think the European Union and Turkey have supported Ukraine in many ways. This is very important. But we also face common challenges in the energy, in the food area. There is one major difference, which one should also point out. The European Union has imposed an unprecedented set of sanctions on Russia because we want to reduce Russia's capabilities to wage this war.
Well, I've had the opportunity to visit Brussels a couple times this year, and inside the European Parliament, I've spoken with members of Parliament, and you can feel the national security concerns from their speeches, from the dialogue I've had with them. Turkey has always been an important part of the European security architecture, being the southeastern flank, not just for the European continent, but also inside NATO. Has the war in Ukraine created new diplomatic space, a new area of cooperation between the EU and Turkey on the matter of national security?
Well, Turkey is a very valuable and important partner in NATO, and of course NATO is an important player in this situation. NATO countries are supporting Ukraine, so of course this creates opportunities for intensified cooperation also in the security area between EU member states and Turkey. It's not something where the EU as an organization is necessarily the biggest player. It's more the EU member states. But here we need to address the security challenge together.
Another issue I want to talk about is the energy crisis. This is also something I've heard a lot in the corridors of Brussels that is concerning. Europe is taking steps to address this issue, but it's also looking to diversify its energy portfolio, especially with the Nord Stream pipeline from the north being shut down. How do you view, or what type of role do you think Turkey can play, or the region, the geography beyond Turkey, whether it be the Gulf, whether it be Central Asia, what type of cooperation could there be regarding energy security?
Well, the European Union has taken a very fundamental decision to disengage from Russian energy, from Russian fossil energy. Now, this has already had an important impact through this year. Gas imports through pipelines has dropped from 41% before the war to 9% today. So we see a huge decrease in these imports. But then on the other hand, what do you have to do? We have to improve our energy savings. Energy consumption, gas consumption has been considerably down in Europe. We have to invest in energy efficiency, in green energy, but we also have to diversify the sources of fossil fuels, of gas. And here we are working with a wide range of countries, from Norway to the US to Algeria, but of course also to the Gulf, to Central Asia, to Azerbaijan. And here Turkey is certainly a partner, an important partner as a transit country, as a cooperation partner for energy diversification.
Now, the food crisis has also been very important, disruption of supply lines. This is not only during the war in Ukraine, but we've also seen this during the pandemic as well. There's a lot of inflation everywhere. Everyone's feeling the pinch. What type of new supply lines, new trade routes, or new food sources is the European Union looking at, especially via Turkey? Have you had correspondences regarding this directly with Turkey, or with the wider region as well, with Turkey as a conduit regarding transportation?
Well, first of all, let me say that the biggest problem in international food markets was because Russia has blocked the ports of Ukraine and has made grain exports from Ukraine impossible. And here the grain deal, and we had an important presentation here this morning, the grain deal to which the Turkish president made a huge contribution, has of course helped tremendously to reduce this pressure on the world food markets. So that is very important. And on your second dimension is that we see that we need to work on all corridors, transport corridors. We have the middle corridor, which goes through Turkey. We have the northern corridor now is almost stopped because of this war. So we will have to work on all different possibilities to improve transports. But we will also see industry and countries being interested in having shorter ways, shorter value and supply chains. So this will affect business choices also for the years to come.
I want to also ask a little about Turkey's EU candidacy. So the negotiations are on hold. Do you think that the war in Ukraine could play a positive impact in kickstarting negotiations, or what do you foresee as a jumpstart to negotiations once again? There seems to be a political will to want to reopen negotiations, reopen chapters in Ankara. Is there a same desire in Brussels?
Well, the basic benchmark for accession negotiations are what we call the political criteria on rule of law, human rights, democracy. And on these criteria, as well as on alignment in other policy areas, the European Commission is making an annual report, and always in October. And unfortunately, for the past years, on these areas in what we call the political criteria, we had to report on what we call backsliding. So I would think that this is one of the areas which is determining for the progress in these negotiations, or the possibility to reconsider these negotiations.
I want to go to the migrant deal, 2016, a landmark deal between the EU and Turkey. It protected Europe from irregular migration. Turkey curbed irregular migration. How do you view now, 6 years on, the migrant deal? Has it been a success? Has it been a failure? What could have been improved? Is this something that the EU will continue with Turkey?
Well, I think overall it has been a success, and overall it has brought many of the results which were desired. Of course, there are some dimensions on which more progress would have been wished from either side, but the fundamental deal was that Turkey would do its bit to stop illegal migration towards Europe, and that Europe would help Turkey with shouldering the huge migration burden in Turkey. And we have, over the last years, allocated now more than 10 billion euro in Turkey for Turkey and host communities to support them with their additional needs. I just had the opportunity to open one of the big hospitals which we are financing in Kilis, which is a big improvement in terms of health services for host and refugee community. And we have, on the other hand, seen that the numbers of irregular migrants leaving Turkey towards Europe since 2016 have been dramatically lower, but still there's still work, and the migration issue will never go away. We have different challenges also now. We have issues with Afghanistan. We have so it's not only Syria. It's the migration issue is there to stay with us, and we need to continue to work together.
One last question: visa liberalization. It's always something that Turkey has wanted. There was progress on the issue. There was an expectation that the visa regime would be lifted, but we haven't seen that materialize. Is this something that will be back on the agenda soon? Is this something that you see Brussels will grant Ankara in the future?
We are happy to work on the visa liberalization dialogue. There are still a number of key, what we call benchmarks again, on which Turkey has to work. So from our point of view, the ball is in the Turkish camp, but we are willing to continue on that basis the dialogue and the road towards improving the visa regime with Turkey.
There's been, from what I'm following in the local papers, there's been this understanding that it's gotten so much harder to get Schengen visas going forward. Do you feel something of this nature is being enacted? Because I have seen it, many people, let's just say, be very concerned or believe that it's near impossible to get it. Has there been a meaningful move to make it much harder to get a visa from Turkey?
Well,
or is this just rhetoric that we're seeing in the papers?
No, I would want to assure you and your spectators that there is no political decision on visas. There are many visa applications. Turkey might be the first or the second country at the end of the year in terms of demands for visa, Schengen visa. They are treated individually on their merits, and so there is no change in policy. There are some practical issues which need to be dealt with by member states, by consulates, and we have a refusal rate for Turkey, if we compare it with other countries, which is within the norm. It's not, there is no situation where you could say that Turkey is penalized or is receiving less visas than others. But on the other hand, I also need to say that we have seen more visa applications which were deficient, more visa applications with fraudulent papers, more visa applications which were clearly trying to get into the countries for different reasons than for tourist purposes. So there is also a concern that Schengen visa should not be abused for something.
Nikolaus Meyer-Landrut, the EU's ambassador to Turkey, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.